Let's talk about this post from Sherlock Roams. So he says, I wonder what the victim's family thinks about the ISP Tallbot report that reveals Corporal Payne lied about what time he arrived at the crime scene. 2:34 p.m. in the ISP report versus 5 p.m. in the arresting PCA. The lead investigator in your child's murder lied about their movements in the affidavit for the arrest of the person whom 80% of the U.S. population knows didn't do it. They're just ignoring that and refusing to ask why the lead investigator would need to tell lies to make an arrest. Imagine if that were your kid. Would you ignore it? Would any rational person ignore it? Well, Sherlock, it's actually Talbot that was mistaken about what time Payne arrived. Now, Payne did also misremember in the PCA because he put 4 o'clock p.m., but that's really not when he arrived either. But Talbot was way off because Payne and Blaker were not there at all when he arrived, and I will show you. Okay, so this is from the supplemental narrative, and Payne says that at approximately 1600 hours on 11/13/22, Sergeant Blaker and I responded. So he's saying 4 o'clock, and he's also saying it in the PCA. So here's the PCA also saying that they arrived at approximately 4 p.m. And that I think happened from him misremembering from writing these weeks later. Okay, so here's Talbot saying that at about 2:41 p.m. he arrived, and he's saying Lanier was on the scene, Blaker, and Payne, along with multiple other MPD officers providing security. He's partially right. Lanier was there, but Blaker, Payne were not there. House, Lanier, and Gunderson were all doing canvassing, and Smith was inside the house with Warner watching the front door, and then Rosinski came up also. So no Blaker, no Payne. They did not arrive until much later. And we have them on video back at the station during that time frame when Talbot was saying they were at the house. So we know they weren't there when Talbot arrived. And I'll show you the video from the body cam of when Talbot and the ISP crew showed up.
There's almost no turnaround for a big vehicle up in this way.
Yeah, you don't have to back out. Yeah, we'll just back him out. Yeah, that should be good.
So that's when Talbot and others on the ISP team arrived. Now, Gilbertson was already there. He was out in the parking area when they got there. He had already arrived earlier, but that is when Talbot arrived, and no Payne, no Blaker. Payne was at the station. At 1:49 p.m., he interviewed Emily Allant. At 2:20 p.m., he interviewed Maisie Chapin. And at 2:27 p.m., he interviewed Jack Ducour. So here's a screenshot of the video footage of him interviewing Emily. Now, the interview with Maisie has not been released yet, so we don't have any footage of that. And then here's a screenshot at 2:37 of him bringing Jack Ducour into the interview room. And this is the ending screenshot at 3:05 p.m. with Jack Ducour. So obviously he could not have been out at 1122 King Road when Talbot arrived. Blaker was also conducting interviews at the same time at the police station as well. So at 1:47 he interviewed Bethany. Then he interviewed Hunter Chapin at 2:19. Then Josie Louderin at 2:27, and then Ava Wood at 2:41. So when did Blaker and Payne actually arrive? Well, we know when they arrived because of the door logs. Because remember, they have people at the back patio and the front door logging people in and out. Now, the body cam footage has not been released yet for anything for the time frame when Payne and Blaker showed up. So we still don't have that, but we do have the logs. So let's take a look. Okay, this is Officer Morris's narrative for the log entries, and he took over in relief of Rosinski at, it says 16:30, so at 4:30 p.m. And Officer Smith entered at 5 o'clock and exited at 5:25. Now remember, Smith is who escorted Payne and Blaker, according to the PCA. ISP Tallbot entered at 5 o'clock and left at 5:40. Corporal Payne entered at 5 o'clock and exited at 5:23. Ashley Jennings entered at 5:03 and exited at 5:23. ISP Jakes entered at 5:25 and left at 5:38. ISP Gideon entered at 5:25 and exited at 5:39. Sergeant Blaker entered at 5:28 and exited at 5:40. And Corporal Payne entered again at 5:28 and exited at 5:38. So that was their comings and goings at the front door. So they did not arrive there until 5 o'clock. Now we have noons with the patio entry log, because it says at approximately 4:28 he returned to assist with securing the southwest patio entrance. He took responsibility from Officer Warner in documenting who entered and exited. He provided this documentation on a notepad. He was relieved by Officer Morris at approximately 5:50. The following information is the rear patio entry. So if you look on here, at 5:10 p.m., Payne, Smith, Tallbot, and Ashley Jennings exited out onto the patio. And then at 5:11 p.m., Payne, Smith, Tallbot, and Jennings went back into the house. Now, the reason why none of them went in until around 5 o'clock, Tallbot, Jennings, Payne, Blaker, was because they were waiting for the warrant. And I have it being talked about on body cam.
Are they just getting ready? Are they just waiting for the warrant to get signed before they go in? Yeah.
And that was at 4:37 p.m. and the warrant was still being waited on. So none of them arrived until around 5 to go in. So Tallbot was misremembering. Blaker and Payne were not there when he arrived with the whole ISP trailer and everything. And Payne misremembered when he put that he arrived around 4, or approximately 4, because they really weren't there till 5. But hopefully this clears everything up. And no, Payne was not lying about his whereabouts at 2:45 or 2:43 when Tallbot claims he was there. He was at the station conducting interviews at the time Tallbot arrived. So all of this constant accusations of lying about people, accusing everybody but inmate 163214 of lying is getting really ridiculous. It's getting really old as well. Do better.